They're lots bigger. I don't know, 100,000, maybe hundreds of thousands of employees. And the main commodity or the main ingredient of Google is those data centers with lots of servers working quite happily, running Linux, and maybe you have like one administrator per like 500 boxes, or I'm not sure the ratio. Depends what kind of server you run. But what you then have is a person wanting to have the same thing, thinking, I should build a data center and I should put people inside it, and the companies will create themselves. But the way it works is first you have this company like Google creating a bunch of computers in the garage, very old computers, and they expand into the space and into the offices and into other countries as they grow. You don't build buildings first and then expect the companies to kind of accommodate that, because you don't get a structural expansion that's natural. You cannot just deliver a baby by just trying to stick things together and hope it to have life in this baby, or to glue a few things together and hope to make something which would have to evolve naturally from something smaller. If you see my point. So, I see the word IP lots of time, and I see those creating companies. We need to create more patents, and we have to show innovation and pieces of paper that show, we've got a patent. But even those big companies you find, with Google is not very aggressive with patents. They collect patents, but I think part of it is to do with trying to comply with what's out there. But if they were subjected to all these patent laws and everything, they wouldn't go anywhere, because they already had emulated quite a few existing things, and search engines already existed in 1998. I can't even give you an answer on how to create these major companies, but I think the US has an advantage that they have a local economy that's really big, so it's really easy to get big in the United States. Whereas if you're in the UK and you create I think is MapBlast the British one, or MapQuest? One of them is British. I'm not sure which one.
I'll be guessing. I think it's Quest, but I'll be guessing.
Yeah, and they're completely blown to hell now, because Google Maps and Google Earth is just completely making it redundant now. And
don't forget, Bing has also removed its 3D modeling.
Yeah, I wrote about it. Yeah, I heard about it. But is it official now, or is it kind of people ask questions about it? From what I can understand,
I took it as official, and like I keep making it sound like I'm making excuses. I've had a superficial view of the news this week, but I took it as official. I can't for the life of me remember the link where I got that from, but I did, because I saw it on a forum and I saw it on a site and people were commenting about it, and I'll try and find a link for the show notes, because I'm quite sure it's pretty official now. I think.
Yeah, they also dropped the Silverlight dependency for, I think it's Bing Maps. So one of the things you had is, in the past, you had to install Silverlight to use that, and even Microsoft itself is already basically dumping, its own platform for the web, and they didn't exactly eliminate that. They just give it as an option now, but by default it will use HTML5, which is kind of good news. So if you want to use the Microsoft service, I guess. But yeah.
So what we'll do now, I mean, I've covered all my topics that I'd listed. Have you
I wanted to comment about last week's show, because I made a very quick remark, which I wasn't planning, because actually I personally don't think any of us really plans what we're going to say. We maybe have some notes of a few things we want to jump through. But one of the things I said about Octave was that even though I haven't used it in quite a few years, it was kind of not being developed fast enough, not being as advanced as the proprietary software I was forced to use with my colleagues. And I was contacted by one of the developers of Octave, and he wasn't too happy, because he says it's a very actively expanding project and you should try this again, which I did. So about a week ago I basically switched, and I worked quite a bit on switching to Octave from MATLAB especially, and I wrote quite a few blog posts about it, and I tried to explain to people the differences between them. And so far I've basically moved everything to Octave, which is a GNU project and free software. and it's working great. And I think it's in some ways working better than the proprietary option. Surely helps a lot. I don't have to worry about things like licensing, but also it integrates nicely with KDE and the Qt development framework. So everything just kind of looks better on the desktop. It's not one of those very ugly GUIs. Actually, it used to be worse in the case of MATLAB. They improved it recently. But anyway, I'm hoping to write quite a bit about the same project I was kind of dismissing a few weeks ago, about a week ago, and even before that, because it seems to have matured quite a lot, and it's got a very, very nice GUI.
Well, I mean,
I think it's a bit off topic for the show, to be honest, because I think it's a bit of a niche product. I'm not sure that without showing something, it's gonna be too interesting. But I just thought I'd mention this because last week, if anyone listened to the part about the free software substitutes for one of the last pieces of proprietary software I was using, I basically found a replacement for it. So right now I almost have to use no proprietary software ever. I never have to use Windows either. So
that all came about probably because of my fault of my question about what would you bring, what proprietary software. I think that's where that conversation stemmed from. It was one of the offshoots of that. But I mean, the great thing about this is that obviously nobody can be expected to keep abreast of every single package and excellent project that's been going on, and it's quite humbling actually that they contacted us.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I wasn't sure if somebody told them about this show actually mentioning the project, because it's more likely. Because we actually built quite a large audience, and I checked. Although I cannot check how many people listen to the show because we use a cache server. It's called Varnish, and but what I do see is without the cache, previous week, the first episode, we got like I'm not sure what it is now, but a few days ago it was like about 1,400 downloads of the show, which I thought was pretty good. And I also got feedback about, once in a while I write about the whole GPL compliance thing, because you have all these firms trying to make lots of money from getting you scared about GPL and about free software and why it's so dangerous, and they want to give you either consulting or some proprietary software that's supposed to like scan your code and tell you, oh, you have to be careful, this could be infringing. And it's a tricky thing because these companies try to help companies comply with these licenses, but at the same time they kind of increase the fear of free software. So it's a very ambivalent type of thing. You have these companies like Duck, and you have OpenLogic and Protocode. Fossology is free software from HP, but it's doing something similar. And then you had Palamida, which is a company that I think was supposed to do consulting. I haven't heard from them in years now, so I don't really know if they still operate quite as much as they used to. But in any case, I heard from the boss of OpenLogic after I criticized the company, or at least warned about the company's selfish interest and what it does to the reputation of the GPL. And she gave me they always provide me with fairly polite comments. They kind of acknowledge the fact that I basically am correct in my assessment about what they do to the perception of free software, but at the same time they aren't too happy about being criticized. So they don't actually say, you're wrong, or you should correct this, or you should change your opinion, but they try to kind of tread carefully and still make money while they kind of get people scared about the GPL. Simon Phipps, previously from Sun, he's now in SourceWalk, I think it's called, a company that's kind of maintaining some of the dead projects from Sun. He wrote a very good article that basically tries to explain to you why there is no reason you should think that it's more dangerous to use free software than to use proprietary software. And why the whole perception about you could be violating or infringing and all, that's just kind of a very old talking point that's been used against that. One last topic I wanted to bring up is Ubuntu. I think yesterday or 2 days ago, they started to talk about the saturation in terms of women in the community, which I thought was pretty good news. But they only talk about something like over 5%, and I think that's